Emma Rodriguez rolled her wheelchair through the front doors of Riverside High School, just like she did every morning. The metal wheels made a soft sound on the smooth floor. She was 16 years old and in her junior year. Emma had been using a wheelchair her whole life because she was born with something called spina bifida. This meant her spine did not grow the right way when she was a baby. Most people at school knew Emma by now. She had been going to Riverside High for almost 3 years. Some kids were nice to her. Others just looked at her and then looked away quickly. A few students were mean, but Emma tried not to think about them too much. Emma had long dark hair that she liked to wear in a ponytail. Her eyes were brown and always seemed to sparkle when she smiled. And Emma smiled a lot. She believed that being happy was a choice she could make every day, even when things were hard. The hallways at Riverside High were always busy in the morning. Students rushed to their lockers to get their books. Friends talked and laughed together. Emma moved her wheelchair carefully through the crowd. She was good at finding spaces between groups of students. "Hey, Emma," called out Sarah Chen, one of Emma's few close friends. Sarah ran up to Emma's wheelchair with a big smile on her face. "Hi, Sarah," Emma said back. "Did you finish the math homework?" "I had trouble with problem number 12. "Oh, that one was tricky," Sarah agreed. "I can show you how I did it at lunch if you want." Emma nodded. "That would be great. Thanks." Sarah walked next to Emma's wheelchair as they went down the hall toward their first class. Emma liked having Sarah as a friend. Sarah never acted like the wheelchair was weird or scary. She just treated Emma like any other person. Emma's first class was English with Mrs. Patterson. Emma loved to read and write. She was one of the best students in her English class. When she raised her hand to answer questions, Mrs. Patterson always called on her. Emma liked feeling smart and useful. During English class, they were reading a book about a girl who had to be brave during a difficult time. Emma could understand how the girl in the book felt. Being different took courage every single day. After English class came history, then science. Emma did well in all her classes. She worked hard and always turned in her homework on time. Some teachers seemed surprised that she was so good at school. Emma did not understand why. Just because she used a wheelchair did not mean her brain was different. At home, Emma lived with her mom, dad, and older brother Marcus. Marcus was 22 years old and had just come back from being a Marine in the military. He had been away for almost 2 years, fighting in a war far from home. Emma had missed him so much while he was gone. Marcus was tall and strong with short black hair and serious dark eyes. The military had made him even stronger than before. But when he looked at Emma, his eyes became soft and kind. Marcus loved his little sister more than anything in the world. When Marcus came back from the war, he got a job at Rodriguez Auto Shop. It was owned by their Uncle Tony. Marcus was good at fixing cars and trucks. He liked working with his hands and solving problems. Every morning, Marcus drove Emma to school in his old blue truck. Every afternoon, he picked her up. Emma's wheelchair could fold up and fit in the back of the truck. Marcus had made a special ramp so Emma could get in and out of the truck by herself. "How was school today, little sister?" Marcus would always ask when he picked her up. "It was good," Emma usually said. She did not like to worry Marcus with small problems. Marcus and Emma had always been close, but the war had made their bond even stronger. When Marcus was far away, he used to write letters to Emma. In the letters, he told her to be brave and strong. He said he was fighting so that she could have a good life and follow her dreams. Emma kept all of Marcus's letters in a special box under her bed. Sometimes when she felt sad or scared, she would read them. The letters reminded her that someone loved her and believed in her. At home in the evenings, Marcus would help Emma with her homework if she needed it. He was not as good at math and science as Emma was, but he tried his best. Mostly, Marcus just liked spending time with his sister after being away for so long. "You are the smartest person I know," Marcus would tell Emma when she solved a hard math problem. Emma would laugh. "You just say that because you are my brother." "No," Marcus would say seriously. "I say it because it is true." Emma's parents, Maria and Roberto Rodriguez, worked hard to take care of their family. Maria worked at a hospital as a nurse. Roberto worked at a factory that made car parts. They both worked long hours, so Marcus helped take care of Emma when they were not home. The Rodriguez family did not have a lot of money, but they had a lot of love. Emma's wheelchair was old and sometimes needed to be fixed. The family could not afford a new one. But Emma did not complain. She was grateful for what she had. Emma had big dreams for her future. She wanted to go to college and become a teacher. She thought she would be good at helping kids learn because she understood what it felt like to face challenges. Emma believed that everyone deserved to be treated with kindness and respect. At school, Emma tried to be friendly to everyone. She said hello to students in the hallway, even if they did not say hello back. She helped other students with their homework when they asked. Emma wanted people to see that she was just a regular teenager who happened to use a wheelchair. But not everyone at Riverside High was kind to Emma. There were some students who seemed to think it was funny to make jokes about her wheelchair. They would make comments when they thought she could not hear them. Sometimes they would stare at her in a mean way. Emma tried to ignore these students. Marcus had taught her that some people were just unhappy and took their anger out on others. Do not let mean people steal your joy, Marcus always told her. So Emma kept smiling and working hard in school. She focused on her friends, her family, and her dreams for the future. She did not know that soon, her strength and courage would be tested in a way she had never experienced before. The lunch bell rang at exactly 12:15 every day at Riverside High School. Emma Rodriguez heard the familiar sound and began putting her books away in her backpack. Around her, other students jumped up from their desks and rushed toward the door. Everyone was hungry and ready for a break from classes. Emma moved more slowly. She had to make sure her backpack was secure on the back of her wheelchair. She also had to wait for the crowd of students to clear out of the classroom doorway. Her wheelchair was wide, and it was hard to get through when lots of people were pushing past each other. "See you later, Emma," called out Jake Morrison, a boy who sat behind her in chemistry class. Jake was always nice to Emma. He sometimes helped her reach things that were up high. "See you later, Jake," Emma replied with a smile. When most of the students had left the classroom, Emma rolled her wheelchair toward the door. The hallways were still crowded, but Emma knew how to navigate through the groups of teenagers. She had been doing this for almost 3 years now. The cafeteria at Riverside High was huge. It had long tables that could seat 8 students each. The food line stretched along one wall, and there was a salad bar in the middle of the room. Large windows let in bright sunlight, and the walls were painted yellow to make the space feel cheerful. Emma got in line to buy her lunch. Today the cafeteria was serving pizza, chicken nuggets, and turkey sandwiches. Emma chose a turkey sandwich, a small bag of chips, and an apple. She also got a carton of chocolate milk, which was her favorite. The cafeteria worker, Mrs. Garcia, smiled at Emma when she paid for her lunch. Mrs. Garcia had been working in the school cafeteria for 15 years. She knew most of the students by name. "How are you doing today, honey?" Mrs. Garcia asked Emma. "I'm doing well, thank you," Emma answered. "How are you, Mrs. Garcia?" "I'm good, sweetie. You have a nice lunch now." Emma smiled and put her lunch tray on her lap. She rolled her wheelchair away from the food line and looked around the cafeteria for a place to sit. This was always the hardest part of lunchtime for Emma. Most of the students at Riverside High sat with their groups of friends. The athletes sat together at tables near the windows. The kids who were in band and chorus sat at tables near the stage. The popular students sat in the middle of the cafeteria where everyone could see them. Emma had a few friends, but they did not all have the same lunch period. Sarah Chen had lunch during 4th period, but Emma had lunch during 5th period. Her friend Miguel Santos sometimes sat with Emma, but today she did not see him anywhere. Emma found an empty table near the back corner of the cafeteria. It was not the best spot, but it was quiet. She could eat her lunch in peace and maybe read a book if she finished eating quickly. As Emma ate her turkey sandwich, she watched the other students around her. At the table closest to her, 4 girls were looking at pictures on their phones and laughing. At another table, a group of boys were talking loudly about a football game that was coming up this weekend. Emma sometimes felt lonely during lunch. She wished she had a big group of friends to sit with and laugh with. But she had learned to be okay with eating alone. She used the quiet time to think about her classes and plan for the rest of her day. About 10 minutes into lunch period, Emma noticed 3 students walking toward her area of the cafeteria. She recognized them right away, and her stomach started to feel tight with worry. Tyler Matthews was the leader of the group. He was 17 years old and played on the school's basketball team. Tyler was tall and had blonde hair that he always wore in a perfect style. He was popular and had lots of friends. But Tyler had a mean side that he showed to students like Emma. Brad Wilson walked next to Tyler. Brad was also 17 and played football. He was not as smart as Tyler, but he was bigger and stronger. Brad usually just went along with whatever Tyler wanted to do. The third person in the group was Jessica Park. Jessica was 16 and very pretty. She had long red hair and always wore expensive clothes. Jessica was popular with both boys and girls at school, but she could be very cruel to students she did not think were cool enough. Emma had been dealing with these 3 students since the beginning of the school year. At first, they just ignored her completely. Then they started making small comments when they passed her in the hallway. The comments got meaner over time. "Look, it's Wheels," Tyler said as the 3 of them approached Emma's table. Tyler had started calling Emma Wheels a few months ago. He thought it was funny. Emma hated the nickname, but she tried not to show it. "Why does she always sit alone?" Jessica asked loudly. "Does she not have any friends?" Emma kept eating her sandwich and tried to pretend she could not hear them. She had learned that sometimes if she ignored them, they would get bored and leave her alone. But today Tyler was in a mean mood. He walked closer to Emma's table and leaned over it. "Hey Wheels, I'm talking to you," he said. Emma looked up at Tyler. Her heart was beating fast, but she tried to keep her voice steady. "My name is Emma," she said quietly. Brad laughed. "She talks," he said to Tyler and Jessica. "Of course she talks," Jessica said with a fake sweet voice. "Just because her legs don't work doesn't mean her mouth doesn't work, right, Emma?" Emma felt her face get hot with embarrassment and anger. She wanted to say something back to Jessica, but she knew it would only make things worse. These 3 students were popular and had lots of friends. If Emma got into an argument with them, other students would probably take their side. "We were just wondering," Tyler continued, "why you always eat alone. Don't you have any friends?" "I have friends," Emma said. It was true, even though her friends were not here right now. "Really?" Jessica asked with surprise in her voice. "Where are they? I don't see anyone sitting with you." Emma did not answer. She took a bite of her apple and tried to act like the conversation was not bothering her. Tyler reached over and picked up Emma's chocolate milk. "This looks good," he said. "Mind if I try some?" Before Emma could answer, Tyler opened the carton and took a big drink. Then he made a face like the milk tasted bad. "Actually, this is pretty gross," Tyler said. He set the carton back down on Emma's tray, but he set it down hard. Some of the milk spilled onto Emma's sandwich. "Oops," Tyler said, but he was smiling. "Sorry about that, Wheels." Emma looked down at her ruined sandwich. She felt tears starting to form in her eyes, but she blinked them back. She would not let these students see her cry. "You should be more careful," Brad said to Tyler, but he was laughing. "Yeah, Tyler," Jessica added. "Poor Emma's lunch is all messy now." The 3 students walked away, still laughing. Emma sat alone at her table, looking at her ruined sandwich. The chocolate milk had soaked into the bread and made it soggy. She could not eat it now. Emma threw away her sandwich and ate her apple and chips. She still had 20 minutes left of lunch period, but she did not feel hungry anymore. She just wanted the day to be over so she could go home. This was not the first time Tyler, Brad, and Jessica had bothered Emma during lunch. It happened at least twice a week. Sometimes they would bump into her wheelchair, by accident when they walked past her table. Other times they would make loud comments about her that everyone could hear. Emma had never told anyone about what these students did to her. She did not want to be seen as someone who could not handle her own problems. She also did not want to get Tyler, Brad, and Jessica in trouble. She was afraid that if she reported them, they would find ways to be even meaner to her. So Emma suffered in silence. She ate her lunch alone and tried to ignore the comments and the mean looks. She told herself that high school would be over in 2 more years, and then she would never have to see these people again. But as Emma sat in the cafeteria that day, looking at the mess on her lunch tray, she felt more alone than ever before. 3 days later, Emma sat at the same table in the back corner of the cafeteria. She had brought lunch from home today, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that her mom had made, some crackers, and a juice box. Emma thought that maybe if she brought her own lunch, Tyler and his friends would not bother her as much. The cafeteria was busier than usual because it was Friday. Students were excited about the weekend and talking loudly at their tables. Emma ate her sandwich quietly and watched other students laugh and have fun with their friends. Emma was reading a book while she ate. It was a mystery story about a girl who solved crimes in her town. Emma liked mystery books because they made her think and try to figure out the answers before the main character did. She was so focused on her book that she did not notice Tyler Matthews and Brad Wilson walking toward her table until they were very close. Emma looked up and saw them standing next to her wheelchair. Today, Tyler looked even meaner than usual. His face was red and his eyes were angry. Emma found out later that Tyler had failed a big test in his math class that morning. His parents had told him that if his grades did not get better, he could not play basketball anymore. "Well, well, well," Tyler said in a loud voice. "If it isn't our favorite Wheels girl." Emma's heart started beating fast. She closed her book and put it in her lap. "Hi, Tyler," she said quietly, hoping he would just walk away. But Tyler did not walk away. Instead, he sat down at Emma's table across from her. Brad sat down next to Tyler. This had never happened before. Usually, Tyler and Brad just stood near her table and made comments. Now they were sitting with her like they were her friends. "We've been thinking, Wheels," Tyler said. "We feel bad about the other day when I spilled your milk. That was not very nice of me." Emma was confused. Tyler had never apologized for anything before. She did not trust him, but she did not know what to say. "That's okay," Emma said carefully. "No, it's not okay," Brad added. "We should make it up to you somehow." Emma was getting more worried by the minute. Other students in the cafeteria were starting to look at their table. They were probably wondering why Tyler and Brad were sitting with Emma. "You don't need to make anything up to me," Emma said. "Really, it's fine." Tyler smiled, but it was not a nice smile. "But we want to help you, Wheels. We've noticed that you always sit alone. You must be lonely." "I'm not lonely," Emma lied. "Of course you are," Tyler continued. "A girl like you probably doesn't have many friends. It must be hard being different from everyone else." Emma felt her face getting hot. She wished Tyler and Brad would just leave her alone. She looked around the cafeteria to see if any teachers were watching, but all the adults were busy with other things. "Maybe we could be your friends," Brad suggested. "Would you like that, Wheels?" "My name is Emma," she said for what felt like the 100th time. "Right, Emma," Tyler said, still smiling that fake smile. "So what do you say? Want to be friends with us?" Emma knew this was some kind of trick, but she did not know what Tyler was planning. I don't know," she said. "Come on," Tyler said, standing up from the table. "Let's go somewhere more private where we can talk better. This cafeteria is too noisy." "I don't want to go anywhere," Emma said quickly. "I want to stay here and finish my lunch." "But we're trying to be nice to you," Brad said. "Don't you want to be our friend?" Tyler walked around to Emma's side of the table. He put his hands on the back of her wheelchair like he was going to push her somewhere. "Don't touch my chair," Emma said firmly. She had learned to speak up when people tried to move her wheelchair without asking. The wheelchair was like part of her body, and people should not touch it without permission. "I'm just trying to help," Tyler said, but he did not move his hands away from her wheelchair. Emma grabbed the wheels of her chair and tried to roll away from Tyler, but he held onto the back of her chair tightly. "Let go," Emma said louder. Some students at nearby tables started to pay attention to what was happening. Emma felt embarrassed that people were watching, but she was also getting scared. "You know what your problem is, Wheels?" Tyler said, leaning down so his face was close to Emma's ear. "You think you're better than everyone else? You sit here by yourself like you're too good to talk to people, but really you're just a freak." Emma felt like someone had hit her in the stomach. No one had ever called her such a mean name before. "I'm not a freak," Emma said, and her voice was shaking. "Yes, you are," Brad added. "Normal people don't need wheels to get around." Emma tried to roll her wheelchair away again, but Tyler was still holding it. She was trapped. "Please let me go," Emma said. "I just want to eat my lunch in peace." "Peace?" Tyler laughed. "You want peace? Maybe you should have thought about that before you acted like you were too good for us." Emma did not understand what Tyler meant. She had never acted like she was too good for anyone. She had always tried to be polite to everyone, including Tyler and his friends. Tyler suddenly let go of Emma's wheelchair and walked back around to face her. Emma thought maybe he was finally going to leave her alone, but then Tyler did something that Emma was not expecting. He reached over and grabbed Emma's juice box from her lunch tray. "This looks good," Tyler said. He opened the juice box and poured it all over Emma's sandwich and crackers. "Oops, I spilled again." Emma watched her lunch get ruined for the second time that week, but this time felt different. This time Tyler had done it on purpose right in front of her face. "Why are you doing this to me?" Emma asked, and tears started to fill her eyes. "Because you deserve it, Wheels," Tyler said. Emma decided she had had enough. She was going to leave the cafeteria and go to the library for the rest of lunch period. She pushed her wheels forward to roll away from the table, but as Emma tried to leave, Tyler stepped in front of her wheelchair, blocking her path. "Where do you think you're going?" Tyler asked. "I'm leaving," Emma said. "Please move out of my way." "I don't think so," Tyler said. "We're not done talking yet." Emma tried to go around Tyler, but Brad moved to block her other side. Now Emma was trapped between the two boys and her table. "Let me through," Emma said, and her voice was getting louder. "Make us," Tyler said. Emma was getting desperate. She could see that more students were watching now, but no one was trying to help her. Some of them were even laughing. Emma tried to push past Tyler with her wheelchair, but as she did, Tyler lifted his foot and kicked one of her wheels. But he kicked harder than he meant to. Tyler's foot hit a small lever on the side of Emma's wheelchair. This lever was part of the mechanism that locked Emma's wheels in place. When Tyler kicked it, the lever broke. Suddenly, Emma's wheelchair started to tip to one side. The wheels were not locked anymore, and the chair became unstable. "Whoa," Tyler said, stepping back. Emma tried to grab onto something to steady herself, but it was too late. Her wheelchair tipped over, and Emma fell out of it onto the hard cafeteria floor. Emma hit the ground with a loud crash. Her juice box, which still had some juice in it, flew through the air and landed on top of her. The remains of her lunch scattered everywhere. The entire cafeteria went silent. Everyone stopped talking and stared at Emma lying on the floor next to her broken wheelchair. Emma tried to push herself up with her arms, but she could not get back into her wheelchair by herself. Her legs did not work, so she could not stand up. She was stuck on the floor in front of hundreds of students. Emma felt more embarrassed and helpless than she had ever felt in her entire life. Tears started running down her face and she could not stop them. "Oh no," Tyler said, and for the first time he looked scared. "Emma, I didn't mean for that to happen." But it was too late. The damage was done. Emma was on the floor, her wheelchair was broken, and everyone in the cafeteria had seen it happen. Some students started to get up from their tables to help Emma, but she was too embarrassed to let them. She just wanted to disappear. "Please," Emma said through her tears. "Please just help me get back in my chair." But her chair was broken now. The wheel mechanism was bent and the chair would not roll properly. Emma lay on the cold cafeteria floor and cried. She had never felt so alone and helpless in her whole life. And Tyler Matthews and Brad Wilson just stood there, watching her cry, not knowing what to do about the terrible thing they had just caused. The silence in the cafeteria only lasted for a few seconds, but to Emma it felt like hours. She lay on the cold floor next to her broken wheelchair, feeling like everyone in the entire school was staring at her. Then suddenly, people started moving and talking all at once. "Oh my God, is she okay?" a girl's voice called out. "Someone get a teacher," shouted a boy from across the room. Emma heard footsteps running in different directions. Students were gathering around her now, but Emma felt too embarrassed to look up at their faces. She kept her eyes closed and wished she could just disappear. "Emma, are you hurt?" It was Jake Morrison, the boy from her chemistry class. He knelt down on the floor next to her and his voice was full of worry. I don't think I'm hurt," Emma said quietly. Her voice was shaky from crying. "Can you move your arms okay?" asked Sarah Martinez, a girl Emma recognized from her history class. Emma moved her arms and nodded. Nothing felt broken, but her whole body was sore from hitting the floor. Jake looked up at Emma's overturned wheelchair. "What happened to your chair?" he asked. Emma looked over at Tyler and Brad, who were still standing nearby. Tyler's face was very pale and he looked scared. Brad was looking around nervously like he wanted to run away. "It was an accident," Tyler said quickly before Emma could answer. "I was just walking by and I bumped into it. I didn't mean for this to happen." Emma stared at Tyler in shock. He was lying. He had kicked her wheelchair on purpose and now he was pretending it was an accident. "That's not what happened," Emma said, but her voice was so quiet that only Jake and Sarah could hear her. Mrs. Henderson, one of the cafeteria monitors, pushed through the crowd of students. She was an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes. When she saw Emma on the floor, her face filled with concern. "Everyone step back and give her some room," Mrs. Henderson said in a firm voice. The students moved back a little, but they still watched closely. Mrs. Henderson knelt down next to Emma. "Honey, are you hurt anywhere? Do you need me to call an ambulance?" "No, I'm okay," Emma said. "I just need help getting back into my chair." Mrs. Henderson looked at the wheelchair and frowned. I don't think your chair is working right now, sweetie. It looks like something is broken. Jake stood up and examined the wheelchair more closely. Yeah, this wheel mechanism is really bent. I don't think it will roll safely like this. Emma felt fresh tears starting to form in her eyes. How was she going to get around school if her wheelchair was broken? Mrs. Henderson stood up and looked around at all the students who were still watching. All right, everyone, show's over. Go back to your tables and finish your lunch. Most of the students did what Mrs. Henderson said, but some of them stayed close by, still curious about what was happening. Tyler, Brad, Mrs. Henderson said, looking at the two boys. Did you see what happened here? Tyler shifted his weight from one foot to the other. Like I said, it was just an accident. I was walking by Emma's table and I accidentally bumped into her wheelchair. I feel really bad about it. Mrs. Henderson looked at Tyler carefully. She had been working at the school for a long time and she was good at telling when students were not being honest. Is that what happened, Emma? Mrs. Henderson asked. Emma looked at Tyler, who was staring at her with worried eyes. She could tell he was hoping she would agree with his story. Part of Emma wanted to tell the truth about what Tyler had really done. But another part of Emma was scared about what might happen if she got Tyler in trouble. I guess it was an accident, Emma said quietly. Mrs. Henderson did not look like she believed this story, but she did not ask any more questions right then. Okay, Mrs. Henderson said. Let's focus on getting you some help. Jake, can you and Sarah help Emma get to the nurse's office? I'll get one of the backup wheelchairs from the storage room. Jake and Sarah carefully helped Emma sit up. Then they each took one of Emma's arms and helped support her weight, while she moved from the floor to a nearby chair. Mrs. Henderson went to get the backup wheelchair. When she came back, it was much smaller and older than Emma's regular chair. It did not fit Emma very well and it was not very comfortable. This is just temporary, Mrs. Henderson explained as Jake and Sarah helped Emma into the backup chair. We'll need to call your parents about getting your regular wheelchair fixed. Emma nodded, but inside she was worried. She knew her family did not have a lot of money. Getting her wheelchair repaired might be very expensive. Jake and Sarah pushed Emma's backup wheelchair to the nurse's office. The nurse, Mrs. Kim, was a gentlewoman who had been taking care of students at Riverside High for many years. What happened, honey? Mrs. Kim asked as she examined Emma for injuries. Emma told Mrs. Kim the same story Tyler had told, that it was just an accident. Mrs. Kim checked Emma's arms and legs and looked for any cuts or bruises. You seem to be okay physically, Mrs. Kim said, but I can see that you're upset. Do you want to talk about what really happened? Emma was quiet for a moment. She wanted to tell Mrs. Kim the truth, but she was still scared about what might happen. It really was just an accident, Emma said. Mrs. Kim looked at Emma with kind eyes. Okay, sweetie. But if you ever need someone to talk to about anything, you know where to find me. Mrs. Kim called Emma's parents to let them know what had happened. Emma's mom, Maria, was at work at the hospital, but she said she would come pick up Emma early. While Emma waited for her mom, she sat in the nurse's office in the uncomfortable backup wheelchair. She felt terrible about everything that had happened. She felt embarrassed that so many students had seen her fall. She felt sad that her wheelchair was broken. And she felt confused about why Tyler had lied about what really happened. About an hour later, Emma's mom arrived at school. Maria Rodriguez was a small woman with dark hair and worried eyes. When she saw Emma in the backup wheelchair, she looked very concerned. Mija, are you okay? Maria asked, using the Spanish word for my daughter. I'm okay, Mom, Emma said. My wheelchair got broken, but I'm not hurt. Maria talked to Mrs. Kim and Mrs. Henderson about what had happened. She filled out some paperwork and then helped Emma into their family car. On the drive home, Maria asked Emma to tell her exactly what had happened in the cafeteria. Emma told her mom the same story she had told everyone else, that Tyler had accidentally bumped into her wheelchair, and it had tipped over. That seems like a very strange accident, Maria said carefully. Are you sure that's what happened? Emma was quiet for a long moment. She wanted to tell her mom the truth, but she did not know how to explain everything that Tyler and his friends had been doing to her. Yes, Mom, it was just an accident. When they got home, Emma's dad, Roberto, was already there. He had left work early when he heard about what happened. Roberto was usually a calm man, but Emma could see that he was very angry about her wheelchair being broken. Where is this boy who broke your chair? Roberto asked. I want to talk to his parents. Dad, please don't make a big deal about this, Emma said. It was just an accident. But Roberto was not satisfied with that answer. He called the school and talked to Principal Williams about what had happened. Roberto wanted to know if the school was going to pay to fix Emma's wheelchair. Principal Williams said that since it was an accident, the school could not pay for repairs. He suggested that Emma's family contact their insurance company. Emma listened to her dad's phone call from her bedroom. She felt terrible that her family was going to have to pay money they did not have because of what Tyler had done to her. That evening, Emma's brother Marcus came home from work at the auto shop. When he saw Emma in the backup wheelchair, his face became very serious. "What happened to your chair, little sister?" Marcus asked. Emma told Marcus the same story she had told everyone else. But Marcus knew Emma very well, and he could tell that something was not right. "Emma," Marcus said, sitting down on the couch next to her wheelchair, "I need you to tell me the truth. This does not sound like a normal accident." Emma looked at her brother's concerned face. Marcus had always been her protector. He had always been the one person she could tell anything to. But Emma was still scared about what might happen if she told the truth. She was afraid that Marcus might get angry and do something that would make things worse for her at school. "It really was just an accident, Marcus," Emma said. "Please don't worry about it." Marcus looked at Emma for a long time without saying anything. He could tell that she was not telling him everything, but he did not want to push her too hard. "Okay, little sister," Marcus finally said, "but if anyone ever hurts you on purpose, I want you to tell me. Promise me that." "I promise," Emma said, but she crossed her fingers behind her back when she said it. That night, Emma lay in bed thinking about everything that had happened. She felt alone and scared and confused. She did not know how she was going to face Tyler and his friends at school the next week. Emma also felt guilty about lying to her family and to the teachers at school. She knew that Tyler had not bumped into her wheelchair by accident. He had kicked it on purpose and then he had lied about what he did. But Emma was still too scared to tell the truth. She was afraid that if she got Tyler in trouble, he would find ways to be even meaner to her. Emma did not think she could handle things getting worse than they already were. So Emma decided to keep Tyler's secret, even though it meant lying to the P. Monday morning arrived and Emma Rodriguez did not want to get out of bed.
She had spent the whole weekend thinking about going back to school.
Every time she thought about facing Tyler and his friends again, her stomach felt sick. Emma's regular wheelchair was at a repair shop across town. The man at the shop had told her dad Roberto that it would take at least 2 weeks to fix and cost $500. Roberto had looked very worried when he heard the price, but he told the man to go ahead and fix it anyway. So Emma was stuck with the old backup wheelchair that did not fit her very well. The seat was too hard and the wheels did not turn smoothly. Emma's back already hurt from using it for just 3 days. "Emma, time for breakfast," her mom Maria called from the kitchen. Emma slowly got herself ready for school. She put on jeans and a blue sweater that Marcus had given her for her birthday. She brushed her long dark hair and tied it back in a ponytail. But when she looked at herself in the mirror, she did not feel confident like she usually did. At breakfast, Emma just picked at her eggs and toast. She was not hungry. "You need to eat something, mija," Maria said with concern in her voice. "You barely ate anything all weekend." "I'm just not very hungry, Mom," Emma replied quietly. Marcus looked at his sister carefully. He could tell that Emma was upset about more than just her broken wheelchair. "Are you nervous about going back to school?" Marcus asked. Emma nodded. "A little bit. Hey," Marcus said gently. "If anyone gives you trouble about what happened on Friday, you tell me right away, okay?" "Okay," Emma said, but she did not mean it. Marcus drove Emma to school in his blue truck just like he did every morning. But today the drive felt different. Emma stared out the window and did not talk much. "You know you can tell me anything, right, little sister?" Marcus said as they pulled up to the school. "I know," Emma said. "I'll see you after school." Marcus watched Emma roll her backup wheelchair up the ramp to the school entrance. Something was wrong, but he could not figure out what it was. Emma's first class was English with Mrs. Patterson. When Emma rolled into the classroom, some of her classmates looked at her backup wheelchair with curious expressions. "How are you doing, Emma?" Mrs. Patterson asked kindly. "I'm doing okay," Emma answered. But Emma was not doing okay. She had trouble concentrating on the lesson about the book they were reading. She kept thinking about lunchtime and wondering if Tyler would bother her again. During her second period history class, Emma noticed that students were whispering to each other and looking in her direction. She knew they were talking about what had happened in the cafeteria on Friday. By third period science class, Emma was feeling very anxious. Her hands were shaky and she had trouble taking notes because she could not focus on what Mr. Rodriguez was saying. When the lunch bell rang at 12:15, Emma felt like she might throw up. She did not want to go to the cafeteria at all. Instead, she decided to go to the library and spend lunch period there. Emma rolled her backup wheelchair to the library as quickly as she could. The library was usually quiet during lunch and she thought she could hide there until lunch period was over. But when Emma got to the library, she found that it was closed for cleaning. There was a sign on the door that said, "Library closed from 12 to 1 p.m. for maintenance." Emma did not know where else to go. She could not go outside because there were steps leading to the courtyard, and her backup wheelchair could not handle steps very well. She could not go to the nurse's office because Mrs. Kim would ask questions about why she was not eating lunch. So Emma had no choice but to go to the cafeteria. When Emma rolled into the cafeteria, she saw Tyler, Brad, and Jessica sitting at their usual table in the middle of the room. Tyler looked up and saw Emma come in. He said something to Brad and Jessica, and all three of them looked in Emma's direction. Emma got in line to buy lunch, but her hands were shaking so much that she dropped her money on the floor. Jake Morrison, who was behind her in line, bent down and picked up the money for her. "You okay, Emma?" Jake asked with concern. "Yeah, I'm fine," Emma lied. "Just clumsy today." Emma bought a sandwich and a juice box and found an empty table as far away from Tyler's group as possible. She sat down and tried to eat, but the food tasted like cardboard in her mouth. About 10 minutes into lunch period, Emma saw Tyler get up from his table and start walking in her direction. Emma's heart started beating very fast. But instead of coming to her table, Tyler walked past her and went to throw something away in the trash can near her table. As he walked past Emma's wheelchair, he leaned down and whispered in her ear, "Keep your mouth shut about what really happened on Friday," Tyler said quietly so no one else could hear. "If you tell anyone the truth, things will get much worse for you." Then Tyler walked back to his table like nothing had happened. Emma felt tears starting to form in her eyes. She realized that Tyler was threatening her. He was scared that she might tell someone that he had kicked her wheelchair on purpose. Emma could not finish her lunch. She threw most of it away and went to her next class early. The rest of the school day was terrible for Emma. She could not concentrate on anything her teachers were saying. She kept thinking about Tyler's threat and wondering what he might do to her if she told the truth. When the final bell rang at 3 o'clock, Emma was relieved that the day was over. She rolled her wheelchair out to the pickup area where Marcus always waited for her. But when Emma got to Marcus's truck, she started crying. All the stress and fear from the day came pouring out of her at once. Marcus saw his sister crying and immediately got out of his truck. He knelt down next to her wheelchair with a very worried expression on his face. "Emma, what's wrong? What happened?" Marcus asked. "Nothing," Emma said through her tears. "I just had a bad day." "This is not about having a bad day," Marcus said firmly. "Something is really wrong and I can see it. You've been upset all weekend and now you're crying. I need you to tell me what's going on." Emma looked at her brother's concerned face. Marcus had always been able to tell when she was upset, even when she tried to hide it. I don't want to go back to school tomorrow," Emma said. Marcus was very surprised to hear this. Emma had always loved school. She was a good student and she usually looked forward to her classes. "Why don't you want to go to school?" Marcus asked. Emma was quiet for a long moment. She wanted to tell Marcus the truth, but she was scared about what Tyler might do if she did. "I just don't," Emma said finally. Marcus could tell that Emma was not telling him everything. He helped her get into his truck and they drove home in silence. That evening at dinner, Emma barely ate anything again. She pushed her food around on her plate but did not take many bites. "Emma, you have to eat something," her mom Maria said with worry in her voice. "I'm just not hungry," Emma replied. After dinner, Emma went to her bedroom early and said she wanted to go to sleep. But Marcus knew that Emma did not usually go to bed until much later. Around 9 o'clock, Marcus knocked on Emma's bedroom door. "Emma, can I come in?" Marcus asked. "I'm trying to sleep," Emma called back. "Please, little sister, I just want to talk to you for a minute." Emma sighed and told Marcus he could come in. Marcus sat down on the edge of Emma's bed and looked at her with serious eyes. "Emma, I know you're not telling me the truth about what happened at school on Friday." Marcus said, "and I can see that whatever really happened is still bothering you." Emma turned away from Marcus and did not say anything. "I'm your big brother," Marcus continued. "My job is to protect you and take care of you, but I can't do that if you don't tell me what's wrong." Emma was quiet for a long time. Finally, she turned back to look at Marcus. "If I tell you something, will you promise not to get angry?" Emma asked. "I can't promise that," Marcus said honestly, "but I promise that I love you and I want to help you." Emma took a deep breath. She was tired of keeping Tyler's secret. She was tired of being scared all the time. "The boy who broke my wheelchair. He didn't do it by accident," Emma said quietly. Marcus's face became very serious. "What do you mean?" And then finally, Emma told Marcus everything. She told him about Tyler, Brad, and Jessica. She told him about all the mean comments and the ruined lunches. She told him about how Tyler had kicked her wheelchair on purpose and then lied about it being an accident. She also told Marcus about Tyler's threat that afternoon, how he had warned her to keep quiet or things would get worse. As Emma talked, Marcus's face got darker and darker with anger. His hands were clenched into fists and Emma could see a muscle in his jaw twitching. "These kids have been bullying you for months?" Marcus asked in a tight voice. Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face. "And this Tyler kid kicked your wheelchair on purpose and then threatened you today?" Emma nodded again. Marcus was quiet for a very long time. Emma could tell he was trying to control his anger. "Why didn't you tell me about this before?" Marcus finally asked. "I was scared," Emma admitted. "I was afraid that if I got them in trouble, they would be even meaner to me. And I was afraid you might do something that would make things worse." Marcus looked at his sister's tearful face. He could see how scared and upset she was. "Emma," Marcus said gently, "no one has the right to treat you like that. No one. And you should never have to deal with bullies by yourself." "But what if telling makes things worse?" Emma asked. Marcus Rodriguez did not sleep much that night. He lay in his bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about what Emma had told him. Every time he pictured Tyler kicking his sister's wheelchair and watching her fall to the floor, Marcus felt angry enough to punch something. But Marcus was not just angry. He was also disappointed in himself. As Emma's big brother, his job was to protect her. While he was away fighting in the war, these bullies had been making his little sister's life miserable, and he had not even known about it. Marcus had learned many things during his time as a Marine. He had learned how to stay calm under pressure. He had learned how to make plans and think before acting. And he had learned that the best way to solve a problem was to gather information first. So even though Marcus wanted to drive to Tyler's house right away and have a serious talk with the boy who had hurt his sister, he knew that would not be the smart thing to do. Instead, Marcus decided to make a plan. The next morning, Marcus told his boss at the auto shop that he needed to take a personal day. His uncle Tony, who owned the shop, could see that Marcus was upset about something serious. "Is everything okay, nephew?" Tony asked. Marcus told his uncle about what had happened to Emma at school. Tony had known Emma since she was a baby, and he loved her like she was his own daughter. "Those kids need to learn a lesson," Tony said with anger in his voice. "What are you going to do about it?" "I'm still figuring that out," Marcus replied. "But I'm going to make sure it never happens again." After talking to his uncle, Marcus drove to Riverside High School. It was around 10 o'clock in the morning, so classes were in session. Marcus parked his truck across the street from the school and watched. Marcus wanted to see the school where his sister spent her days. He wanted to understand the environment where these bullies felt comfortable hurting her. After about an hour, Marcus saw students coming out of the building. It must have been a break between classes. Marcus watched carefully, looking for any signs of the bullying behavior that Emma had described. He did not see anything obvious, but Marcus noticed something that bothered him. He saw several students in wheelchairs having trouble getting through doorways because other students were not paying attention. He saw a girl with a walking stick trying to navigate through crowds of students who seemed to ignore her completely. Marcus realized that Emma was not the only student at this school who faced challenges because of a disability. When the lunch period started, Marcus got out of his truck and walked closer to the school. He found a spot where he could see into the cafeteria through a large window. Marcus watched students buying lunch and sitting at tables with their friends. After about 10 minutes, he saw Emma roll into the cafeteria in her backup wheelchair. Marcus could tell just by looking at her that she was nervous and scared. Emma bought her lunch and sat at a table by herself in the back corner of the cafeteria. Marcus felt sad watching his confident, smart sister sitting alone while other students laughed and talked with their friends. Then Marcus saw 3 students get up from a table in the middle of the cafeteria. One was a tall boy with blonde hair, one was a bigger boy with brown hair, and one was a girl with red hair. Marcus knew immediately that these must be Tyler, Brad, and Jessica. Marcus watched carefully as the 3 students walked toward Emma's table. He could not hear what they were saying, but he could see Emma's body language. She looked scared and uncomfortable. The tall blonde boy, who Marcus assumed was Tyler, leaned down and said something to Emma. Whatever he said made Emma's shoulders tense up. Then Tyler walked away and Emma looked like she was about to cry. Marcus had seen enough. He walked back to his truck and drove home, but he was more determined than ever to help his sister. That afternoon, Marcus picked up Emma from school just like he always did. Emma was quiet during the drive home, but she seemed a little less upset than she had been the day before. "How was school today?" Marcus asked. "It was okay," Emma said. "Tyler left me alone during lunch." Marcus did not tell Emma that he had been watching her at school. He did not want her to worry about him doing something that might make her situation worse. That evening, Marcus did some research on the internet. He looked up information about bullying and disability rights. He read about laws that were supposed to protect students like Emma from harassment at school. Marcus also looked up information about Tyler Matthews, Brad Wilson, and Jessica Park. It was not hard to find them on social media. Tyler's profiles were full of pictures of him playing basketball and hanging out with friends. He looked like a popular, successful teenager. Someone who saw these pictures would never guess that Tyler spent his time bullying disabled students. Marcus found pictures of Brad and Jessica too. They all looked like normal, happy teenagers. But Marcus knew that they had been making his sister's life miserable for months. The next day, Marcus took another day off work and went back to the school. This time, he did not just watch from outside. He walked into the building and went to the main office. "Can I help you?" asked the secretary, a middle-aged woman with friendly eyes. "I'd like to speak with the principal about my sister, Emma Rodriguez," Marcus said politely. "Is there a problem?" The secretary asked. "Yes, there is," Marcus replied. "My sister has been having some difficulties with other students, and I'd like to discuss it with Principal Williams." The secretary checked the schedule and told Marcus that Principal Williams could see him in about an hour. Marcus said he would wait. While Marcus waited, he watched students walking through the hallways. He paid special attention to how they interacted with students who had disabilities. Most students seemed to ignore the disabled students completely. A few students were helpful and kind, but Marcus also saw some students making faces or comments that were clearly mean. Marcus realized that the problem at this school was bigger than just Tyler and his friends. There was a culture here that allowed bullying of disabled students to happen. When Principal Williams was ready to see him, Marcus walked into the man's office and sat down. Principal Williams was a thin man in his 50s with gray hair and glasses. He looked tired and stressed. "What can I do for you, Mr. Rodriguez?" Principal Williams asked. Marcus explained that Emma had been having problems with bullying, but he did not mention that he knew the wheelchair incident had been intentional. He wanted to see how the principal would handle the situation. "We take bullying very seriously at this school," Principal Williams said. "If Emma is having problems with other students, she should report it to her teachers or to me directly." "What if she's afraid to report it?" Marcus asked. Principal Williams looked uncomfortable. "Well, we can't address problems that we don't know about. Students need to speak up when they're being harassed." Marcus could tell that Principal Williams was not really interested in solving Emma's problem. The man seemed more concerned about avoiding trouble for the school than protecting students like Emma. "What about the incident last Friday when Emma's wheelchair was damaged?" Marcus asked. "That was an accident," Principal Williams said quickly. The student involved felt very bad about what happened. Marcus stared at Principal Williams for a long moment. "Are you sure it was an accident?" "Of course," Principal Williams replied. But Marcus could tell the man was not as confident as he was pretending to be. Marcus realized that he was not going to get any help from the school administration. Principal Williams either did not know about the real bullying problem at his school, or he knew about it and chose to ignore it. After leaving the principal's office, Marcus walked through the school hallways one more time. He wanted to get a better sense of the layout and the daily routines. Marcus found Emma's locker and looked at the hallways she had to travel between classes. He saw that some of the doorways were narrow and would be difficult for a wheelchair to navigate when crowded with students. He also found the cafeteria and looked at it more closely. Marcus could see that the table where Emma usually sat was isolated from the rest of the students. It would be easy for bullies to bother her there without many people noticing. That afternoon, Marcus picked up Emma from school and asked her some careful questions about her daily routine. "Do you have any friends who sit with you at lunch?" Marcus asked. "Sometimes Sarah Chen sits with me, but she has a different lunch period most days," Emma replied. "And Miguel Santos sits with me once in a while, but he's usually with his other friends." Marcus was starting to understand why Emma felt so alone at school. She did not have a regular group of friends to support her and protect her from bullies. That evening, Marcus called one of his friends from the Marines. His friend's name was David, and he worked as a security consultant for schools and businesses. "I need some advice about dealing with bullies," Marcus told David. Marcus explained the whole situation to his friend. David listened carefully and asked some good questions about the school's policies and the behavior of the students involved. "The problem is that schools often don't want to admit they have bullying problems," David said. "It makes them look bad, and it can create legal issues for them. So they tend to call everything an accident or a misunderstanding." "So what should I do?" Marcus asked. "You need to document everything," David advised. "Get evidence of what these kids are doing. Talk to other students." The next morning was Thursday, and Marcus Rodriguez woke up before sunrise. Today was the day he would put his plan into action. He had spent days preparing for this moment, and he knew exactly what he needed to do. Marcus got dressed in his Marine dress uniform. The dark blue jacket with its gold buttons was perfectly pressed. His black pants had sharp creases down the front. His black dress shoes were polished until they shined like mirrors. The uniform made Marcus look taller and more serious than usual. Marcus had not worn his dress uniform since he came home from the war. He usually tried not to draw attention to his military service, but today was different. Today he wanted people to know exactly who he was and what he represented. Emma was surprised when she saw Marcus in his uniform at breakfast. "Why are you dressed like that?" Emma asked. "I have something important to do today," Marcus replied. "Don't worry about it. Just focus on having a good day at school." Emma looked worried. "Marcus, you're not going to do anything that will get you in trouble, are you?" Marcus knelt down next to Emma's wheelchair and put his hands on her shoulders. "Little sister, I promise you that I will handle this the right way. But I also promise you that no one is going to hurt you anymore." Emma nodded, but she still looked nervous. She knew that when Marcus made a promise, he always kept it. Marcus drove Emma to school in his truck just like he did every morning. But today felt different. Emma could tell that Marcus was focused and determined about something. "I love you, little sister," Marcus said as Emma got out of the truck. "I love you too," Emma replied. "Please be careful, whatever you're planning to do." Marcus watched Emma roll her backup wheelchair into the school building. Then he drove to a parking spot across the street where he could see the front entrance of the school. Marcus waited in his truck until the lunch period started at 12:15. Then he got out of his truck and walked across the street toward the school. The security guard at the front desk looked up when Marcus walked into the building. The guard's eyes widened when he saw Marcus's military uniform. "Can I help you, sir?" the security guard asked respectfully. "I need to speak with some students in the cafeteria," Marcus said politely but firmly. "It's about my sister, Emma Rodriguez." The security guard looked at Marcus's uniform and his serious expression. "Is there a problem, sir?" "Yes, there is," Marcus replied. "But I'm here to solve it." The security guard nodded and pointed Marcus toward the cafeteria. "It's down that hallway and to your right." Marcus walked through the school hallways with confident military-style steps. Students who saw him in the hallway stopped talking and stared. It was not common to see someone in a military dress uniform walking through their school. When Marcus reached the cafeteria, he stood in the doorway for a moment and looked around the large room. There were about 300 students eating lunch and talking with their friends. Marcus spotted Emma sitting at her usual table in the back corner. She looked small and alone in the big cafeteria. Marcus felt a surge of protective anger when he saw his sister sitting by herself, while other students laughed and had fun with their friends. Then Marcus looked toward the middle of the cafeteria and found Tyler, Brad, and Jessica sitting at their usual table. They were laughing loudly about something and acting like they owned the entire cafeteria. Marcus walked into the cafeteria with purpose. His polished shoes clicked on the hard floor, and the sound echoed in the large room. Students started to notice him and wonder who he was and why he was there. As Marcus walked across the cafeteria, conversations began to die down. Students turned to look at the tall, serious man in the military uniform who was walking through their lunch area. By the time Marcus was halfway across the cafeteria, most of the room had gone quiet. Even Tyler, Brad, and Jessica had stopped talking and were looking in Marcus's direction. Marcus walked directly to Tyler's table and stopped in front of it. He looked down at Tyler with steady, serious eyes. Tyler looked confused and a little nervous. "Tyler Matthews?" Marcus asked in a clear, strong voice that carried across the now silent cafeteria. Tyler swallowed nervously. Yeah, that's me. Who are you?" "My name is Sergeant Marcus Rodriguez, United States Marine Corps," Marcus said loudly enough for everyone in the cafeteria to hear. "I'm Emma Rodriguez's big brother." Tyler's face went pale. Brad and Jessica looked at each other with worried expressions. They had not expected Emma's brother to show up at their school, and they definitely had not expected him to be a Marine. Marcus continued speaking in his clear, authoritative voice. "I'm here because you and your friends have been bullying my sister for months. You've made fun of her, ruined her lunches, and last Friday you deliberately damaged her wheelchair and caused her to fall on the floor in front of everyone." Tyler tried to interrupt. "That was an accident." Marcus held up his hand and Tyler immediately stopped talking. "When a Marine in dress uniform tells you to be quiet, you listen." "Don't lie to me, son," Marcus said sternly. "I have multiple witnesses who saw you kick my sister's wheelchair on purpose. I also have witnesses who have seen you and your friends harassing Emma and other disabled students at this school." By now, every student in the cafeteria was staring at Marcus and Tyler. Some students had taken out their phones and were recording what was happening. Marcus looked around the cafeteria and then back at Tyler. "I want you to explain to me and to everyone here why you think it's okay to pick on a girl who uses a wheelchair." Tyler's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. He looked terrified. "I'm waiting," Marcus said patiently. Finally, Tyler found his voice. I didn't mean for her to get hurt," he stammered. We were just joking around." Marcus's eyes became even more serious. "Joking around? You think breaking a disabled girl's wheelchair and watching her fall to the floor is a joke?" "No, sir," Tyler said quietly, looking down at his hands. Marcus turned to look at Brad. "What about you? Do you think bullying my sister is funny?" Brad shook his head quickly. "No, sir, I'm sorry." Then Marcus looked at Jessica. "And you? Do you have anything to say about the way you've been treating Emma?" Jessica's face was red with embarrassment. She could feel hundreds of students staring at her. "I'm really sorry," she whispered. Marcus nodded. "You're sorry? That's a start. But sorry doesn't fix my sister's wheelchair. Sorry doesn't take away the months of fear and loneliness you've caused her. And sorry doesn't guarantee that you won't do this to her or someone else again." Principal Williams had heard about what was happening in the cafeteria, and he came rushing in with 2 other administrators. When he saw Marcus in his military uniform addressing the students, Principal Williams looked nervous and confused. "Excuse me?" Principal Williams said as he approached Marcus. "I'm Principal Williams. Is there a problem here?" Marcus turned to face the principal. "Yes, sir, there is a problem. These 3 students have been systematically bullying my sister and other disabled students at your school. Last Friday, Tyler Matthews deliberately damaged my sister's wheelchair, causing her to fall and injure herself. When questioned about it, he lied and said it was an accident." Principal Williams looked uncomfortable. "Well, we investigated that incident and we determined—" Marcus interrupted him. "With respect, sir, your investigation was inadequate. I have witness statements from several students who saw Tyler kick my sister's wheelchair on purpose." Marcus reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folder. "I also have documentation of months of harassment and bullying behavior that these 3 students have directed at my sister and others. Your school has failed to protect vulnerable students, and that failure ends today." Principal Williams looked at the folder nervously. He could see that Marcus had done his homework and was not going to accept any more excuses. Marcus turned back to Tyler, Brad, and Jessica. The 3 bullies looked miserable and scared. "Here's what's going to happen." Marcus said in his military command voice. You're going to apologize to my sister, not just with words but with actions. You're going to pay for the repairs to her wheelchair, and you're never going to bother her or any other disabled student at this school again. Tyler nodded quickly. Yes, sir. We'll do whatever you say. I'm not finished, Marcus continued. You're also going to spend time volunteering with disabled students and organizations. You need to learn to see people with disabilities as human beings who deserve respect and kindness. Marcus looked around the cafeteria at all the students who were watching and listening. And I want everyone here to understand something. Emma Rodriguez is not alone. She has a family who loves her and will protect her. If anyone thinks they can bully her or any other vulnerable student at this school, they're going to have to answer to me. Marcus paused and let his words sink in. Bullying is not just wrong, it's cowardly. It takes no courage to pick on someone who can't fight back. Real strength comes from protecting people who need help, not from hurting them. Marcus turned to Principal Williams. I'll be in your office in 10 minutes to discuss what steps the school is going to take to prevent this kind of harassment in the future. I hope you'll be prepared to have a serious conversation about protecting all of your students. Principal Williams nodded nervously. Of course. We'll discuss whatever changes need to be made. Marcus looked across. Marcus Rodriguez sat in Principal Williams's office, still wearing his Marine dress uniform. The folder of evidence he had collected was spread across the principal's desk. Principal Williams looked nervous as he read through witness statements, photos, and documentation of the bullying incidents. I had no idea the situation was this serious, Principal Williams said, wiping sweat from his forehead. Marcus looked at the principal with steady eyes. With respect, sir, the situation was serious from the very beginning. The problem is that your school has not been taking reports of bullying seriously, especially when they involve students with disabilities. What do you want me to do? Principal Williams asked. Marcus had prepared for this question. First, Tyler Matthews, Brad Wilson, and Jessica Park need to face real consequences for their actions. A simple warning is not enough. Second, this school needs better policies for protecting students with disabilities. And third, there needs to be training for teachers and staff about recognizing and stopping bullying. Principal Williams nodded slowly. I understand. Let me call the district office and see what we can do. While Principal Williams made phone calls, Marcus thought about Emma. He hoped that what he had done in the cafeteria would help her, not make things worse. Marcus knew that sometimes when adults get involved in school problems, it can create new difficulties for the students. But Marcus also knew that Emma had been suffering in silence for too long. Someone needed to stand up for her, and Marcus was glad that he could be that person. After an hour of meetings and phone calls, Principal Williams had made several important decisions. Tyler, Brad, and Jessica would each be suspended from school for 1 week. They would also be required to attend counseling sessions about bullying and disability awareness. More importantly, the 3 students would have to pay for the repairs to Emma's wheelchair. Tyler's parents had already been called, and they were shocked to learn what their son had been doing. They promised to pay for the wheelchair repairs immediately. The school district also agreed to implement new anti-bullying policies specifically designed to protect students with disabilities. There would be training for teachers and staff, and there would be better systems for reporting and investigating bullying incidents. I want to apologize, Mr. Rodriguez, Principal Williams said. We should have done more to protect Emma from the beginning. What matters now is that you do better in the future, Marcus replied. Emma and other students like her deserve to feel safe at school. When Marcus left the principal's office, he walked back through the school hallways. Students who saw him nodded respectfully or said hello. Word had spread quickly through the school about what the Marine had done to protect his sister. Marcus found Emma in the library, where she was studying with 3 other students. When Emma saw her brother, she smiled brightly. How did it go with the principal? Emma asked. It went well, Marcus said. Tyler, Brad, and Jessica are going to be suspended for a week. They're also going to pay to fix your wheelchair and attend counseling sessions. Emma's eyes widened. Really? They're actually going to face consequences?
Yes, they are.
And the school is going to make changes to better protect students like you. One of the students sitting with Emma, a girl named Lisa, looked up at Marcus. Thank you for what you did, she said. I have a hearing aid, and those same kids have been mean to me too. I was too scared to tell anyone. Marcus knelt down so he was at eye level with Lisa. You should never have to face that alone. If anyone bothers you again, I want you to report it immediately, and if the school doesn't take action, you have my permission to call me. Marcus gave Lisa and the other students his phone number. I want all of you to know that you have someone looking out for you now. Over the next few weeks, life at Riverside High School began to change in significant ways. Tyler, Brad, and Jessica returned from their suspension with very different attitudes. They had spent their time away from school learning about disabilities and the impact of bullying. Tyler approached Emma on his first day back at school. He looked nervous and ashamed as he walked up to her lunch table. "Emma, I want to apologize to you properly," Tyler said. "What I did was wrong and there's no excuse for it. I hurt you and I'm sorry." Emma looked at Tyler carefully. She could see that his apology was genuine. "Thank you for saying that," Emma replied. "It means a lot to me." "I also want you to know that I paid to have your wheelchair repaired," Tyler continued. "It should be ready for you to pick up tomorrow." Emma felt tears of relief in her eyes. She had been using the uncomfortable backup wheelchair for 3 weeks, and she missed her regular chair very much. "Thank you," Emma said softly. Tyler nodded and walked away, but not before saying one more thing. "If anyone ever bothers you again, you can tell me. I'll make sure they stop." Emma was amazed by the change in Tyler's attitude. She could see that Marcus's confrontation had really affected him. Brad and Jessica also apologized to Emma over the next few days. They both seemed genuinely sorry for what they had done, and they began volunteering at a local organization that helped people with disabilities. But the most significant change was in Emma's daily experience at school. She was no longer eating lunch alone. Students who had never talked to her before now sat with her and included her in their conversations. Emma also joined the school's debate team, where her intelligence and quick thinking made her a valuable member. She made new friends and started to feel like she truly belonged at Riverside High School. The new anti-bullying policies at the school were working too. Teachers were better trained to recognize bullying behavior, and students felt more comfortable reporting incidents when they occurred. Mrs. Patterson, Emma's English teacher, started a peer support program where students with and without disabilities worked together on projects. This helped all students learn to see each other as individuals, rather than focusing on their differences. Principal Williams also established a student council committee dedicated to making the school more inclusive and accessible for students with disabilities. Emma was elected to serve on this committee, where she could help make positive changes for other students like herself. 1 month after Marcus's visit to the school, Emma's regular wheelchair was fully repaired and returned to her. When she sat in it for the first time in weeks, she felt like herself again. That evening at dinner, Emma told her family about all the positive changes that were happening at school. "I have so many friends now," Emma said with excitement in her voice, and Tyler actually stood up for another disabled student when someone was making fun of him. "It's like he's a completely different person." Marcus smiled as he listened to his sister talk about her improved school experience. "I'm proud of you, little sister," he said. "You handled this whole situation with more grace and strength than most adults could manage." "I learned that from watching you," Emma replied. "You showed me that sometimes you have to stand up for what's right even when it's scary." Maria Rodriguez looked at her 2 children with tears of pride in her eyes. "I'm proud of both of you," she said. "Marcus, you protected your sister in just the right way. And Emma, you found the courage to ask for help when you needed it." Roberto nodded in agreement. "This family sticks together," he said. "We protect each other and support each other no matter what." Several months later, Emma was invited to speak at a school district meeting about bullying prevention and disability rights. She stood at the podium in her wheelchair, confident and articulate as she addressed the board members and audience. "Bullying doesn't just hurt the person being bullied," Emma said. "It hurts the whole school community. When we allow some students to be treated badly, we create an environment where no one feels truly safe." Emma talked about her own experience and how Marcus's intervention had changed everything. But she also talked about the importance of students, teachers, and administrators working together to create inclusive schools. "Everyone deserves to feel like they belong," Emma concluded, "and everyone has something valuable to contribute to their school community, regardless of their abilities or disabilities." The audience gave Emma a standing ovation for her speech. Several school board members approached her afterward to ask questions and learn more about her experiences. Marcus sat in the audience, watching his sister with immense pride. Emma had transformed from a scared, lonely girl into a confident young woman who was making a difference in other people's lives. After Emma's speech, Tyler Matthews approached Marcus in the lobby. Tyler looked much different than he had months earlier. He seemed more mature and thoughtful. "Mr. Rodriguez, I wanted to thank you," Tyler said. "What you did that day in the cafeteria changed my life. I was heading down a really bad path and you helped me see that I needed to become a better person." Marcus looked at Tyler with approval. "I can see that you've made positive changes. I'm proud of you for that." "I'm applying to volunteer at a summer camp for kids with disabilities," Tyler continued. "I want to spend my time helping people instead of hurting them." Marcus shook Tyler's hand. "That's exactly the kind of person I hoped you could become." As Marcus and Emma drove home that evening, they talked about how much their lives had changed since that difficult day in the cafeteria. "Do you ever regret what I did?" Marcus